Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Ben Myers, who is president of Bullpen Research and Consulting. Thanks, Ben, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about rental rates across Canada, but more specifically regarding Calgary in a new report that just came out. What I found interesting is Calgary is 27th out of 35 cities for average monthly rental rates. Can you talk a little bit about that and why Calgary is so low in comparison to, say, many of the major cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, for example?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Calgary is a market where you're able to do a little bit more expansion, right? You can move out in farther out if people want cheaper housing and single family homes, and you've made a commitment to building supply. And so, Montreal, Quebec built a lot of rental supply. And so is Calgary, so you're able to keep rents low. Whereas you have Vancouver, and you're on an island, and you got mountains on one side and an ocean on the other side, and certainly in Toronto you've got Lake Ontario to the south, and you have the green belt, which essentially takes out land from being developed, and you have some pretty tough policies in terms of where some of these buildings go. So you end up with really tall buildings downtown, which are expensive to build and rent out, and stick-built single-family homes in the suburbs. So there's we see very little, renting going on in those units. So Calgary is certainly an interesting market in terms of their ability to add supply, and certainly the willingness of developers to continue to build supply even when the market was softer than conditions that it has been in the past.
Yeah, the affordability issue in housing is important, right? And we know that in terms of homes for sale, Calgary and Edmonton as well has always historically been much more affordable than those three major cities, and the rental rates as well, right? We see that the affordability coming into play there. When we look at the average rental rates, they are increasing though in Calgary, right? And I know year over year, I see by your report that there's been a 4% increase in one-bedroom places, an 11.2% annual increase in two-bedroom places. Why are we seeing those rental rates rising?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Looking back at just the one-bedroom numbers that you showed in August of 2019, a one-bedroom was about 1,240. It dropped about 4% to 1,190 in August of last year. It is essentially right back up to where it was pre-pandemic, in the August 2019 range. So it's really kind of went down during the pandemic, like a lot of cities across Canada, and have returned to that on the one-bedroom side. On the two bedrooms, though, it was about 1,480 in August of 2019. Went down to about 1,450 in August of last year, and is now up to 1,590. So it's a pretty significant jump year over year. And I think, like what's happening across Canada, a lot of people, despite some businesses going back into office, some are allowing their employees to continue to work at home. And people are anticipating that will be the case. So if they're not spending that money on driving and on gas and on parking, they're going to use that money on a larger unit, especially a unit that has a second bedroom that they can use as an office. So we've really seen this trend across Canada that larger units have seen much stronger growth. Pretty big growth in single-family rentals, actually, in the Calgary market as well. So that's certainly been a pretty big driver.
What can you tell me about the vacancy in Calgary?
Well, the rentals.ca report doesn't look specifically at vacancies, but it does look, obviously we track the number of listings that my team at Bullpen Consulting is analyzing. So the number of listings has been going way down, right? So obviously there's going to be a correlation between the number of properties available, supply and demand, right? So the greatest supply that we have is for rental apartments in Calgary, obviously, in terms of comparing it to other product types: townhomes, single family, basement apartment, condo apartment. So
Yeah.
so if you just look at rental apartments, it went down. The rents went down 7% from August of 2019 to August of 2020, and then jumped back up 9%. So we're up to almost $1,400 a month. If anyone from Toronto is watching or Vancouver is watching, $1,400 for a rental apartment is extremely cheap. But and so maybe not as big on the rent per square foot. So we saw it dropped about 4% in the pandemic and back up about 8%. So up to about $2 per square foot. So a nice round even number in August of 2020 at $2 per square foot. So, it's hard to look at and really get a sense of what the overarching trends are. But, I think students are going back to full-time classes, not only for the primary schools, but for a lot of the post-secondary institutions, the universities, and colleges. So those people that might have stayed at home and lived with mom and dad are now going out and looking for apartments. Other people that had started their first job and they might have stayed in their smaller university town or stayed with mom and dad to save some money while they were working that first job, are now planning on now going into the office and want to be close to work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the service industries that were shut down for a long period of time, they're now open back up, and people need to be close to work. So there's several factors that are certainly having an impact on why people are getting out and renting. Obviously, the COVID numbers are a little bit worse in your neck of the woods than they are here. So we'll see if those trends continue in Alberta. But we seem to see similar trends really across the coast to coast in terms of where rents went and where demand is heading.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks very much, Ben, for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, that was Ben Myers, president of Bullpen Research and Consulting. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you today by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us.